everyone, happy Monday. Welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about the latest fragrance releases that have been announced over this past week. This is a weekly series that I do here on this channel where every Monday we sit and we have a chat about the new fragrance releases. This is a great way for us to start the week, but also a great way or a great opportunity for us to be mindful about what's coming out, really evaluate the pros and cons of each release. This is supposed to be a fun and playful and informative way for us to talk about the new fragrance releases. So if that is of interest to you, definitely do keep on watching. But if this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances. I talk about them here 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. I also publish additional content on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. And I have recently launched a fragrance collection log and expense tracker. This is a great way for you to track what's in your collection. If you're spending money on fragrances, if you have a lot of samples, decants, full bottles, anything of that nature, and you want an effective way to kind of see everything in one place, to track the notes, track the accords, track what you think of the fragrance, have like a numeric rating system, I have a spreadsheet for that purpose. That is a spreadsheet I launched last week, and so many of you have already downloaded it, and thank you so much for doing so. It's available down in the description box if you want to click on my stand store. I have 3 color options for you to choose from, so definitely check it out if that is of interest to you. Other than that, I have a podcast called The Fragrance Report. This podcast is a fragrance history podcast primarily that launches with a new episode every Wednesday. So if you're interested, it's on Spotify, and I also launch a new episode of it every Wednesday on YouTube here as well. So with that being said, let's get on into the video because we have a lot to talk about. Okay, so let's get started with the fragrance that I actually had a chance to sample. I don't think I've actually talked about this fragrance before though. This, if I'm wrong, please forgive me, but this is Ellis Brooklyn. They are launching this fragrance called essentially Guava, okay? So Guava Granita. So this is a perfume with notes of guava juice, banana, bergamot, and tropical water lily at the top, a mid of Cavalier melon, coconut palm, and mango blossom, and then a base of vanilla, sandalwood, and almond milk. So I sampled this in store. It smells like a Jolly Rancher, a guava Jolly Rancher flavor. If you like that, you'll like this. I don't personally like that, so this was definitely a pass for me, but I think it's cute. I like the vibe of it. If this is something that is up your alley, absolutely go for it. But this is just not something that I enjoyed, but I will say, let me show you. So I'm super into photography, so I always notice these details. I love the marketing behind this. It's kind of like tennis balls. It's on a tennis court. There you can see. It's kind of inventive. It's a fun twist. I like looking at the whole marketing of all these fragrances. I find it fascinating. Is this fragrance for me? No, but I do love the aesthetics. This next perfume, though, I am incredibly excited about. I'm actually really into this brand. I haven't tried too much from them. I've tried 2 fragrances, and those 2 fragrances are amazing. But this is a brand called Marc-Antoine Barrois, and this is a perfume that's called Aldebaran. And essentially this perfume is inspired by tuberose fields, and this is an Arabic word that roughly translates to the follower. And this is a fragrance that's also inspired by the brightest star in the constellation Taurus that was discovered in the 18th century by an Arab astronomer. So I'm going to go through the notes and then I'm going to go into my commentary on this. So this is a fragrance with top notes of tuberose absolute, mid of paprika accord, and then a base of mate and tonka beans. According to the master perfumer Quentin Biche, this perfume was born from a bouquet of tuberose, the most fatal of flowers. Work with the milky facets and fresh petal notes, sprinkle with a pinch of paprika to redden the whole, the tonka bean for addiction. So I was in Bergdorf's when I was in New York recently, and one of their employees, Leighton George, he is the fragrance ambassador at Bergdorf's. He took me through a lot of fragrances, and he actually introduced this brand to me. And the way he explained it, he said that this is the kind of fragrance that would come from an alien spaceship. Like, this is what they think florals smell like. And that descriptor is so spot on, because all the I haven't tried the entire line, but the fragrances that I have tried from this brand smell like nothing else I've ever smelled. Like, yes, they have like florals. Yes, they have like these notes, but I've never smelled florals done this specific way. And from what I can tell from what people have been saying online about this, this is also a really unique tuberose fragrance. So I will absolutely be sampling this. I'm super excited about it, and I'm looking forward to trying this out and experimenting with the other scents in this line as well. Carolina Herrera launched 2 fragrances, one for women and one for men. This is called Wild Love. Now, these are supposed to embody the Carolina Herrera's house's style and spirits. These are 2 limited edition fragrances. Let's go through the notes. So Wild Love is supposed to be inspired by women who own rooms with their staggering beauty and utter confidence. This is meant to be a bold, inviting, and irresistibly fierce fragrance that stuns with its energy. So this has top notes of pink grapefruit, a heart of ylang-ylang, and then a base of vanilla. So the masculine version in this line is supposed to be a tribute to the rebellious nature of the contemporary man, and this is supposed to embody energy, self-confidence, and audacity, with top notes of sage, a mid of patchouli, and then a base of leather accord. I mean, these both seem interesting. Because they're limited edition, this will automatically be a pass for me. If you don't know, when it comes to limited edition fragrances, like, I will rarely go for I was gonna say Middle Eastern. That is not the accurate. I will rarely go for a limited edition fragrance, specifically because I don't really want to kind of like fall into the, oh yeah, this is like a scarcity mindset, like I have to like get this fragrance because if I don't get it now, it'll be gone. I tend to be like very methodical with the fragrances that I want to purchase anyway, so yeah, this is gonna be a pass for me. So it's not going to be a fragrance that I'm going to go for, or these fragrances are not going to be ones I go for. I think they're cute, I like the packaging, I like the concept, but this is not for me. Like, I'm not the target audience, so this will be a pass. Next up, we have a fragrance called Sisters Before Misters. This is being launched by Jusbox. For those of you who are unaware, Jusbox is a really intriguing brand because they're actually inspired by music when creating their fragrances. So if you look at their caps, their caps actually have like this like fake vinyl on it, so it's like a fake vinyl record, so that's why their caps are kind of round. So that's something that I found out when I first saw their fragrances in person, and that was kind of fascinating. But yeah, this fragrance is called Sisters Before Misters, and it has notes of, let's check this out, notes of exotic flowers, candy floss, and vanilla at the top, a mid of juicy plum and juicy peach, and then a base of caramel and warm musk. So the fact that this has candy floss in there is like a little bit intriguing because I have been interested in cotton candy fragrances. Candy floss is another name for cotton candy. So this is something that I would be interested in trying out. So I would be interested in testing this because it seems intriguing. I'm not like going out of my way for it because I think it's a little bit, I mean, I'm not too familiar with Jusbox enough to be like, okay, this is what the scent profile could be like. I'm curious about trying this. I think this is an interesting fragrance to check out. Another brand that I've heard a lot about, but I haven't had a chance to really delve into too much, this is the Harmonist. They're launching this fragrance called Flora Nubile, and this is a celestial-inspired scent, and it will see a wider global release this September, but it's already been announced. The Harmonist apparently is inspired by the concept of Feng Shui. It's supposed to be inspired by the idea of creating balance in all things, including the fragrances. So this is supposed to open with a vibrant fusion of citruses, have a floral heart, and then an ambery vanilla base. So going into the notes a little bit more in depth, this will have bergamot, bitter orange, and pink peppercorn in the opening, a heart of apricot, Bulgarian rose, and datura, and then a base of amber, vanilla, and musk. I don't talk about pricing too much on here, but this is just available here, so I'm going to mention it. It's £285 for 50 milliliters, and it's available in a pure parfum concentration. I haven't tried too much from the Harmonist. I've heard a lot about them. If you have feedback on the Harmonist, definitely let us know in the comments. I'm curious to hear that. This seems intriguing. First, I think it goes without saying that if a fragrance is priced at close to $300 for 50 milliliters from any brand, that deserves a try before you buy kind of situation. So I can't really comment on this fragrance because I'm not familiar with the brand as much. I've heard about them, I'm not super familiar with them. But I will say this kind of makes me think about what a lot of other people have been saying online about the idea how so many brands are just like releasing really strong perfumes or really strong fragrances just as default. And what a lot of people are saying is that it prevents us from being able to experience fragrances that are airy and fragrances with a beautiful sillage, because like once you pump like so much perfume oil concentration into a fragrance, it can fall flat. And I kind of get where they're coming from. Like I kind of get where people are coming from when they say something like that, because I've noticed that a lot of fragrances that I really tend to wear and appreciate aren't necessarily fragrances that are like super strong perfume concentrations. I do like fragrances that last, but I also like fragrances that are a little bit airy. I don't necessarily want to have a fragrance that's like super concentrated, you know? So it's just like interesting food for thought. I definitely do want to try the Harmonist at some point. If you have a favorite fragrance from the Harmonist, please let me know so I can get started with my sampling. But this does seem interesting, but like I said, I haven't tried too much from them, so I can't really comment too much. Next up, we have a new fragrance by Dusita. This is called, and I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation, Blue Danube. This is a collaboration between 7 Scents, which I think is a distributor. But this is a perfume that's going to be only available in 500 bottles, and let's look into the notes. So, this perfume will have notes of cardamom and dried fruits at the top, a mid of sandalwood, benzoin, tobacco absolute, clove bud, and orris butter. Ooh, that sounds really good. And then a base of bourbon, vanilla, gaiac wood, amber notes, and cedarwood. For those of you who don't know, Dusita is a brand that's based in Paris. The founder is of Thai descent, though. And in general, the fragrances are really interesting because they really tend to pair their fragrances with artistic inspiration. And if you go into their boutique in Paris, which I highly recommend, you'll see so much art and so many displays that are inspired by the fragrances that they create. So I really love that kind of combination of artistic, kind of a visual artistry and fragrance. So that's something I really enjoy. I will say the scent pyramid does sound tempting, but because this is only 500 bottles, like this is not something I'm going to get. I'm not really interested in like the exclusivity kind of fragrances. Like I'm more interested in something that I can actually talk about and something I can recommend to you guys. So this will be a pass for me personally, but if you're someone who is looking at this and you really think this might be something that works for you, definitely check this out. But in general, Dusita is a really compelling brand, and I think I want to try some more of their fragrances. I want to actually definitely talk about them more on this channel, because I actually have a discovery set from them that I do not try, or I have not gotten into as much as I should. I have several discovery sets and so many samples that I have yet to go through. And kind of like circling back to like what I was mentioning earlier about the spreadsheet that I created that kind of like tracks your entire fragrance collection. One of the reasons why I created that is because I do have so many samples and so many decants that for me even, it's hard to keep track of all of them. So I just wanted like an efficient way to like keep track of everything. And yeah, so I think like one of the things I want to do is I want to like kind of go through all the samples that I really want to try, put them in the spreadsheet, put in the notes, put in like what I think about them, and just like have that data set so that I can actually talk about the samples in a way that makes sense, and I can actually like search them on the spreadsheet. Anyway, that's neither here or there, but if you haven't tried Dusita, definitely check the brand out. They have some really compelling fragrances, and I highly recommend this brand. I do want to talk about this release from French Avenue. They're launching this Vulcan collection inspired by the Year of the Snake, I believe. So we have 2 fragrances here. We have Vulcan Sable and Vulcan Faux. So let's talk about Vulcan Sable first. By the way, I used to somewhat speak French. Now my French has gone downhill. It probably should be one of my goals to get back into it because my pronunciation is horrendous. But this fragrance has top notes of coriander, whiskey, mandarin, and orange, a mid of cashmere, styrax, tonka, and anise, and then a base of vanilla, benzoin, and patchouli. Vulcan Faux looks like a more tropical version of this, including top notes of mango, ginger, lemon, and rhubarb, a mid of jasmine, pink pepper, violet, and praline, and then a base of ambergris, tonka bean, cedarwood, and moss. It looks like we are I'm going to start seeing more mango fragrances done in like a more like a new way. I think like last year the mango trend was very much like super into osmanthus and kind of like mango smoothie-ish. Now it's starting to be a little bit different, and I do think having the ginger there adds some diversity, as does the rhubarb. So these two fragrances are ones that I would like to sample. I would like to get a decant of them. If I had to choose the one that I would probably likely prefer, it would very much likely be the first one, the more boozy one. The second one I'm also interested in, but I feel like with tropical notes, I either really like them or I kind of feel a little bit blasé about them. So that could be a possibility here. But if you kind of like these notes, this is a good release to keep a lookout for. There's also a really interesting release from the Chinese brand Uttori. Now, I might be mispronouncing this terribly, and if I am, I do apologize, but this is a collection called the Jiangnam Collection, and this is supposed to be a fragrant tribute to Chinese water towns. Now, they are coming out with 4 fragrances that are supposed to be inspired by the poetic essence of Chinese culture, drawing inspirations from the landscapes, everyday life, and lyrical beauty found in Tang and Song poetry. And this is supposed to be a collection that reimagines, like I mentioned earlier, the idyllic scenery of Jiangnam water towns. So they have a few different fragrances. The first fragrance I'm going to mention is Ali. Then they have Inking Spring, Black Shelter, and River Levy. So let's go into the notes. So, and the inspiration, because I think that might be interesting. So Ali is supposed to be a woody, floral, and mossy perfume created by perfumer Nisrin Grill. It's supposed to capture the atmosphere of a quiet alley in a contemporary setting. So kind of like a rainy alley of today with no trace of the hometown of yesterday. Interesting. This fragrance will have notes of bergamot and spices at the top, a mid of ylang-ylang, jasmine, lily of the valley, and then a base of patchouli, cedarwood, sandalwood, and moss. Next, Inking Spring is an aromatic floral green perfume. It's created by perfumer J.U.S. and is supposed to mimic the idea of a garden in full bloom in the springtime, a splendid scene of flourishing flowers. Spring returns once more after 1,000 years. This fragrance will have top notes of bergamot, lavender, and clary sage, a heart of linden blossom, jasmine, chamomile, and mimosa, and then a base of vetiver, cedarwood, and musk. Black Shelter is a floral, herbal, and woody perfume. It was created in collaboration with 2 perfumers, Michael Gerard and Nanako Oji, and it's supposed to conjure up the poetic imagery of black canopied boats drifting along misty rivers, evoking the tranquil mood of nostalgia like a folk melody, rowing through mist and rain under a black canopy like a soft tune from the past. This fragrance will contain notes of lemon, sage, and mint at the top, a heart of jasmine sambac, and then a base of vetiver and sandalwood. Finally, last but certainly not least, we have River Levy. This is a woody floral green perfume created by Jan Vasnier. It's supposed to evoke the elegant scene of willows brushing up against a riverside path where birds sing along the waves of green. White embankments, painted bridges, willows swaying, and orioles singing. This perfume will have top notes of bergamot, grapefruit, galbanum, and basil, a heart of willow leaves, jasmine, geranium, and pepper, and then a base of vetiver, sandalwood, and musk. So, each of these fragrances comes in a 18 milliliter eau de parfum bottle and is priced at 188 yen, I believe. And US pricing, it looks like this is $26. So, yeah, they offer forwarding options for international buyers, apparently. I am really intrigued by this. I really am. I think something about like the thoughtfulness behind the marketing of it. This seems like a really intriguing release. I'm not someone who has been into poetry historically, but not gonna lie, this kind of inspires me to maybe like get back into it a little bit more. I don't know. This seems really intriguing. The pricing is really not bad, especially, I mean, this is a travel size, but 18 milliliters for $26 in any case is not bad pricing at all. I would say if I had to choose my favorite, it would probably be River Levy just from the notes, but as we all know, notes can be very subjective, so sometimes just because you might like a note combination might not mean that you like the actual fragrance. So this does seem really interesting. Another fragrance that has been making the rounds recently, and I think this actually had a big launch party associated with it, is Simone Junglescape by Simone Andreoli, and this is dedicated to resort life in Mexico. And as many of you already know, Simone Andreoli, they've kind of like identified themselves as one of the premier tropical summery fragrance houses in the niche category, and it looks like this perfume is no different. This is supposed to be a fragrance. Let's see the notes. This is supposed to be a green citrus perfume with top notes, or with notes of green tea, lime, mint, sea salt, tiare flower, bigarade, exotic fruits, precious woods, ylang-ylang, Virginia cedar, vanilla, rose, patchouli, and spices. That sounds absolutely phenomenal. It looks like they're also adhering to the green tea trend, which we kind of predicted at the start of this year, and it appears to be going pretty strong. I do think it's pretty fascinating to see kind of like a tropical take, it seems, on the green tea trend. Not that this fragrance is overtly tropical, but like I mentioned before, Simone Andreoli, they're pretty much known for coming out with those fragrances that are inspired by summertime, and it's interesting to see a tea note involved in that fragrance. So this looks very intriguing. I'm looking forward to potentially sampling this one as well. We also have a new fragrance by the brand Noyz. This is going to be called Detour. Now, this is supposed to be inspired by the feeling you get when you hit the back roads and discover that the best stories are never the ones you planned. Take the scenic route. So this perfume will have notes of Spanish mandarin, apple blossom, jasmine, gardenia, tiare blossom, skin musk, Indian papyrus, and vanilla. So here's the thing. I'm sure this smells wonderful, but if we're looking at the marketing, so this is pretty like, they're going for the road trip aesthetic. Even the bottle has a car on it. Let's see, what else? For like the photo shoot behind the fragrance, they went for the car, like literal, there's a car, pretty heavily involved in the shoot. And here's my feedback on this. Keep in mind, I haven't tried any of these Noyz fragrances. I am not super familiar with the brand, and I don't know their ideal customer. I think it would have been really cool if they had kind of leaned into the road trip idea, and instead of just coming out with something that seems like easy, quick, easy to sell, I think it would have been super cool if they had come out with a fragrance like that literally has notes inspired by being in a car and having the windows down. Because I'm originally from Texas, so road trips were a part of my childhood. And honestly, even into adulthood, road trips were a big part of my life. Not so much anymore because where I live, but the idea of being out on the highway, windows down, listening to music, the scent that also is associated with that would be so cool bottled into a fragrance, and I feel like a lot of people would be able to relate to that. Just think of clean leather, maybe some fresh greenery, some airy notes inspired by or even the asphalt note inspired by the scent of the highway. There are just so many ways to play around with it that don't involve kind of having a marketing campaign that says one thing and then having a set of notes and accords that say a completely different thing. So that's my only thing. And I think that, I don't know, I think that there's a way to go about it that would be really playful but also really nostalgic at the same time. I think a lot of people, I'm sure I'm not the only one, a lot of people associate lots of really positive things and feelings with the idea of going on a road trip. It's a family thing. It's a thing that you do with your friends. It's an excursion. And I don't know, I feel like they could have really leaned into something a little bit more avant-garde without being too much. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think it would have been cooler if they had gone a different route, literally. So that's my thoughts on this fragrance. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. Those are all the fragrances I have to share with you. Do let me know in the comments below, what are the fragrances that really stood out to you this time? What are the fragrances that you're really excited about? Is there anything here that you're kind of like not so stoked about? Do let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and I love to respond to you down there. But that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.